everybody. It is Thursday and almost 11, so I thought I would pop on and do a live with you guys. I had some questions about the distress markers from Tim Holtz, and I by no means am an expert, but I have to admit I did go out and buy the entire line over the last month, and I've been playing with them. So I've learned a few things and I thought I would share them with you on live. I'm going to turn the camera around and put it on the stand. So if you are watching this on playback, please fast forward through this next section so you don't get dizzy or angry at me. Also, I will not be able to see my screen. So if you have any comments, I won't be able to read them. I'm very sorry about that, but I don't have my iPad out here, and the last time it didn't connect. So let me go ahead and, actually, maybe I don't have to flip the camera. Maybe this will work. All right, so let me show you what I've already done today. I created this card. Well, it's actually a panel. And it is by, I think it's by Tailored Expressions. It's this pack right here. It's the calendar pack by Tailored Expressions. I got this at my local craft store, which is the paper collage here in the West Valley, Phoenix, Arizona. And I like this because they will make really cute for card fronts. And they're watercolor paper, which means they are super, super durable and you can throw a lot at them and they will hold wonderfully. I'm going to show you how to do a couple techniques with the distress markers that I've learned on this blank one. But if you can't see it, you might not be able to. I have some glaze on those apples to make them shine like apples would shine. And there's a trick to do that because when you're working with distress markers, they are a water-based marker, which means that whenever they come in contact with anything that has any moisture to it, it's going to spread more and move more. And you don't want to do that if you're topping it with, Stickles. I'm going to do Stickles on this one, or with a glaze or anything like that. So I'm going to show you something that will allow you to do this, put things on top of your distressed markered images that'll allow it not to run and will hold it in place. So first, let's go ahead and get started on this little card right here. I'm going to set that one up over here. And I'm going to do two different techniques today with this. Awesome because they have a brush end and they also have a fine tip end, and we're going to be using both. What I'm going to do is I do have some water with some paintbrushes, so I'm going to start to just shade in my image, and I'm going to use this grid over here to do so, starting with my lightest image. And I have 4 colors I'm choosing from today: Fossilized Amber, Carved Pumpkin, Rusty Hinge, Tea Dye, and then this is Marmalade, Spice Marmalade. So I'm actually going to lay all of my colors out first, and all I do is I'm just going to mark them off in that box. Not sure if you can see that. Let me move that over a little more. Mark that off in that box. I'm really using quite a bit. You honestly don't need that much, but hey. All right, and just going to work my way down. And since this reactivates with water, even if it gets dried out, it doesn't even matter because I can just squirt some water or throw some water at it and it will reactivate. So I'm going to almost do like a watercolor on this. And I chose this particular image because I don't have to be perfect, and I want to be respectful of people's time, right? So I'm just gonna, it's gonna be a loose image we're gonna do here. So I'm taking my brush, and it's pretty doused, and I'm just going to rub it through that first color, which is the fossilized amber, and I'm just gonna start to kind of lay this out in random areas. I'm not really trying to make it perfect or anything like that. This is just a random fall color. The cool thing is if I wanted to go in and be precise with it, you can go in and just paint with it. So that's pretty awesome. All right. Now from here, I'm going to go ahead and do it with the next color. And I'm just going to work my way from light to dark to darker. And you'll see it kind of blends on out. I'm just laying it out, no rhyme or reason. I definitely want more of the oranges and the yellows down than I will the browns. And if I want to go back through, I can. All right, and then the next one is going to be my carved pumpkin. And I want this to be kind of the majority of my coverage. You could also take this technique and do the traditional dipping, in which you just rub it all out, spray it with some water, and dip the card in it too. That would be gorgeous. I just want a little bit more control, but not complete control as I do this. Okay, and I'm going to actually throw some more carved pumpkin down because like I said, I want this to be the majority, this orange. And I'm just going to pick up some more water with my paintbrush. Just going to throw it on down. All right, now from here, I'm going to start in with just a little bit of the brown, not too much, just a little bit here and there. And I have something I'm going to do on the outside of this card for the border as well. All right, and then from here, I'm going to pick up that darker. And I want to throw some more of the carved pumpkin down, as well as the spiced marmalade. Excuse me, you guys, I have a little bit of the sniffle, so I hope that you can bear with me if I talk and sound like I have a little bit of a sore throat. It sounds worse, I think, than what it is. And the beauty of this is you can totally go over those colors and it'll still move it around. And as long as I'm staying in the correct color families, it's not going to turn to mud on me. So if these are warms, these have, you know, a yellow and red undertone, which work together. The color that you want to be careful of is purple. You either can only mix that with red or only with blue. You can't mix it with both, or you can't mix purple and orange because you will get mud. It is as Dina Wakely's, the Delusions. Gosh, this is embarrassing. Reevely says, the color of sin. That's orange. Okay, so from here, that's pretty good coverage. So this is what it looks like so far, but we are not done yet. I want to go ahead and take, this is a different kind of technique. I'm going to take my tea dye and I'm going to use the fine tip end, and I'm just going to trace over some of those veins. And then once I get them traced over, I'm going to go ahead with my thinner paintbrush and just paintbrush over them to spread that color out. And again, I'm not going for real precision right now. This is a total watercolor type look that I'm doing. But if you wanted to write a sentiment on a card or something, this is a wonderful alternative because you can do that. You can write the sentiment. It'll write it like it would with the precision of a pen. And then you can go through and spray it out with some water to kind of loosen it a little bit. Or you can make it permanent, and I'm going to show you how to do that in the end here. Okay, so I'm just, like I said, this is just really loose. Because what this is going to do is it is going to add some definition like it's doing, but it also is going to add a little bit of shading. So I'm going to grab my thinner wet paintbrush, and I'm just going to go over those spots that I did and kind of just loosen it up a little bit. And it still really does hold the shape nicely. If I don't like that line so crisp, I can just keep working water in and it will loosen up. But as you can see, it's already starting to loosen up. And I'm just dipping and dipping because this is a watercolor paper, so it can really hold up nicely to saturation. All right, so I think that's good. Now from here, I'm going to go in directly with my brush tip, and I'm going to use my rusty hinge, and I'm going to go in with my brush tip around the edges, and I'm just going to detail color in the edges. And you could go in over with a brush on this if you wanted to pull out the color and make it look a little bit more watercolory. I want to keep it crisp like that just for a nice contrast between the two and to provide a beautiful border on this. So I'm just going to color this on through. So do you see how I kind of got outside of the lines right there? I really didn't care. It's because I knew that I would go in like this later and just kind of clean it up. Okay, so I do notice that once I finally do get that nice bold border on there, that I do have a little bit of white spots. So I'm going to go through with my carved pumpkin once again, and I'm just going to clean up that. I'm just going to add in some color into those white spots. So I'm just going to pick up that color right there. Go right on in through here just to make sure that I got good coverage. And I'm even running it almost into the border too. All right, that looks really good. All right, so from here, I want to make this permanent. And how I'm going to do that is I am going to use the Distress Glaze by Tim Holtz. It's this one. And what this does is it puts a barrier over any of your projects that are water-based so that they will not move after that. I could throw water on after this and it would be totally fine. It's still a little wet on the edges, so I'm going to start on the center and then work my way out. This is the perfect size for those sponge dabbers that he carries or that Ranger carries to dip inside and do it that way. I have discovered that I prefer my finger because a little goes a long way, and those sponges pick up quite a bit of product, and this is not super cheap. I think this is like $8 for the jar. So I try to be as fiscally responsible with this product as I can. So I just pick up a little bit on my finger because it doesn't really take much, and then I just start to rub it into my image. And you'll notice that it'll give it a little bit of a sheen. And we're going to remove most of that with a paper towel in just a moment. But we're just really trying to rub this on in, and see, it doesn't, I'm not really picking up much with my finger, and it's not ruining the colors that I have down, which is good. Okay, so I have a pretty good coverage on that. Now you just want to take out the excess, otherwise it's a little bit slimy. We don't want slime. So I'm just going to go through and pick up the excess, like so. Okay, so now this is, I can throw some stickles on it, which I want to do. And what I'm going to do for the stickles is I'm just going to go through, and on those veins and whatnot, I am going to add a little bit of sparkle. And I am using diamond. So when this dries, it will dry clear with that beautiful sparkle in it. And I'm not, I'm not being super, super picky right now. I'm not trying to be perfect on this by any means. I just want to make sure that I get a little bit of something special down on this card. So you may be wondering, what can you use that little panel for? Well, it's a 3x4, so it's a little bit too large for an ATC, which are 2.5 by 3.5. So what I will probably end up doing is putting this on a traditional sized card front. So I believe it's called an A2, which is 4.25 by 5.5 card front. I will probably mat it, and then I will have a sentiment on it. I'll probably put a ribbon across the bottom, about a 1/2 inch. So from here, I'll start the ribbon, and then I will put a sentiment on it, like "Happy Fall, y'all," or something like that, so that this will be the backdrop to that sentiment. This glitter is going to lay down totally flat. When it dries, it's not going to have any dimension to it. And it's funny because at first, when I first started using Stickles years ago, I was disappointed that it didn't have any dimension to it. But as years have gone by, I've really grown to appreciate that, especially in situations like this where I'm going to want to probably put a title over it, and I don't want there to be any dimension under it. Okay, so go through and highlight some of these little leaves. No rhyme or reason, just kind of going through, and I'm applying different pressures to my stickles at this point, so it's not always going to even put out glitter glue. If you are in the local area and you would like to get together with other crafters and you're a paper crafter, we have an event going on out at the Paper Collage on October 19th. I know that's still like 2 months away, and you are more than welcome to come. It's an ATC swap, so we are going to actually, it's like a happy hour from 4 to 6. We're going to make ATCs there. I'm going to bring some fun stuff for you guys to play with if you're interested in. And then at the end, we're going to swap our ATCs that we make. So it should be a lot of fun. Even though this technically is an ATC size, you could definitely trim them down and turn them into an ATC. But if you are in the Phoenix area, that would be so much fun, and I would love to meet all my local crafters. If you're not in the Phoenix area, I'm going to be in New York at the Making Creativation event, which is September 29th and 30th at Woodstock. It's through Creativation, and I would love to meet you there. So if you want to come by and say, hey, I'll be out there. So I think we're getting almost done with this. Just some. It's my doggy. Can you hear my dog? All right, so there we go. So that's just a way that you can use your distress markers. A couple different ways. I hope you enjoyed this, and make sure you come back next Thursday and join me live. Also, if you want to see, I'm going to be doing some more things with these panels. I'm going to be using Ken Oliver's Color Burst on them. I'm going to be painting with some Tattered Angel Glimmer Mist on them, as well as the Jane Davenport Mermaid brushes. So come back and see everything that you can do like this and discover a couple different types of things you can use to shade in and color images. I hope you guys have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy crafting!